So you had a week off. You left Jake and I hanging here.
Yes, and I wish I had another week to do that. But
He doesn't want to be with us right now.
You didn't do much interesting but see the cartoon of what you, John, and I look like?
I saw it.
Was that the most interesting part of your week?
No. I mean, you look like you should be driving a Volkswagen van, first of all. You should be at Woodstock.
So ChatGPT, I don't know how you guys feel about AI, but you can send a picture into ChatGPT now and ask it to make it into a cartoon of whatever style cartoon you want. And there's this style, it's called like Ghibli.
Yeah, Studio Ghibli.
And
so it's anime.
I've been asking it to like make pictures because it looks cool. And here's Derek, John, and I at John's retirement last year.
You're going to have to send that to Laura.
I sent that to John, and he's like, I look like I have a balloon head.
Welcome to Eye on Sports, where we delve into the biggest Butler County sports topics. I'm your host, Butler Eagle Sports writer Derek Pida. Joining me are fellow sports writer Brendan Howell and Eagle Sports editor Jake Murda Adams.
I've been considering covering the table and felt, but yeah, you got to kind of see how it's a little different.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Mini golf surface.
Yes. We'll just make it into a golf table. Maybe you guys could have a little or a little pool table.
Who would win in mini golf?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think would win out of us in mini golf?
Probably me.
I think Derek's a dark horse.
I
don't know.
I don't know. I don't think Derek's a dark horse. You played golf before.
Did you play?
I have, but I quit because I was so bad. The last time I golfed, a friend of mine, actually the guy that was the best man at my wedding, his name's Mike, we were golfing out at Highland in, I think this would have been 2009 or 10. And we got rained out that day because we got to the 14th hole, and the skies opened up. I mean, it just poured down rain for a good half hour, so that was the end of our golf outing. But through 13 holes, I was at 125.
Oh,
that's
okay.
I mean, it was literally 10. And I've golfed better than that before, but at that point, I'm like, you know what? My dad's like, oh, why don't you take lessons? I said, Dad, I'm not paying people to teach me how to play golf. If I'm not good enough to play on my own to at least be respectable, I'm not going to pay somebody. I mean, golf can be an expensive sport depending on where you golf and taking lessons. And I just said it's not fun anymore. Back when I was golfing 120 through 18 holes, which is a horrible score, I realize that, but I still gave myself a chance on 2 or 3 holes to get a par. I actually got a birdie, a legitimate birdie with no mulligans out at Serene Valley with John. I actually was golfing with John that time. I got a legitimate birdie out there, and I had 4 or 5 pars in my career. But it got to the point where I was golfing 140-yard par threes, and it was taking me 7, 8 shots, consistently. I said, I'm done. And I actually used to really be into watching golf too. And I know a lot of people don't like Tiger Woods, but to me, when he was on his game and he was dominating, for me, that's when it was fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. Because
the year that Rocco Mediate went to the playoff with out at Torrey Pines, I think it was.
Yeah, such a good round.
Rocco Mediate's kind of like the local guy. I mean, he's from Greensburg. And the fact that he was in a playoff for the U.S. Open with Tiger Woods, I was really into that. Now, obviously, Tiger's well past his prime. These guys are still great golfers, but to me, they're just all just one big, in my head, they're just like guys. You know what I mean? There's no Tiger Woods in today's game, and I couldn't tell you the last time I watched a round of golf on TV. But I used to be into it.
Tell you the one and only time I did. So when I worked at Home Depot, and I hated my job there. They switched my job from being customer service, which sucked in itself because you have to answer the phone and deal with angry dads. So they changed me to deliveries, which was picking up heavy things by myself, putting them on a cart, bringing them out to a truck, and lifting them up again. So I'd just go back to the break room because it was a seasonal job, and I didn't like it anyways. And I remember I sat in the break room for an entire shift and watched some. I forget what golf route or what golf event it was, but I was like, I have nothing better to do. If this is on the TV, I'm just gonna sit here in this leather chair and watch. So I was.
I have so many comments that I probably shouldn't make.
It was 2021.
I always have to cut something out. So
So you weren't golfing last week.
No.
The kids were running the show last week. So what were you doing while you were gone and while you weren't listening to us?
I went to my dad's with my son 2 weekends ago, the start of my vacation. We went down there and spent the night, and we were supposed to go to this flea market where, as a kid, I used to save up my grass mowing money and go down there about every 4 or 5 weeks with like $100 and just have no problem with blowing $100 on cards. So, and my son was excited because he's into it. Obviously, he's into the newer cards like you are, but you know, I like the 70s and 80s. And we found out the morning of, at least we didn't waste a trip down there, we found out that this place it's closed right now for renovation because the place is like, it's indoors and it looks like a big airplane hangar. That's how big this place is, but they're renovating it. So it was closed. So we ended up going to Westmoreland Mall and we went to the card shop there, which, I mean, Will had been there before, but
Do you see the boxes they had? It was like 20-cent cards. Like they had like a few boxes in the back on the shelves.
I did not see that.
No. I want to make my way back there.
I bought a pack of 1982 Fleer baseball cards for $10. That's the way they do it because there's a chance that I think it was Don Mattingly rookie that year. And if you get a Don Mattingly rookie card and it's in good shape, obviously it's going to be worth, you know, a decent amount of money. So they charge $10 for a pack of cards, and I didn't get Don Mattingly. I think the best card in there I got was a Kirk Gibson second year, which is worth like $1. But hey, that's the chance.
I looked at Marvin Harrison. It's called like a disco ball refractor. It's like a different print on the inside that if you move the card, it's chrome, so it like dances, like it like glitters in the light. It was $35, and I looked at it and I was like debating if I should buy it, and I ended up saying no because I thought about how many hours it takes me to pay for that card of work. So I was like, not this time.
Yeah, how many Chipotle burritos would that be?
It would have been one. It would have been one
It'd be like
and
3 solid.
3/4. It'd been like it was $35. So
Okay, so yeah, you can't get more than you could get at least 2 burritos out of that.
my Chipotle cost me like $20 when I go.
Oh my god!
But did you listen to the podcast that you were gone?
He's gonna say no.
I'm sorry.
All you had to do was listen 5 seconds in, and I imitated your voice in a very
that was the whole beginning.
interesting manner.
Them trying to imitate you.
No.
This is Paul Harvey.
Trying.
Yeah.
I was bullied.
And this is the rest of the story.
Intimidated.
Hold on a second.
Yes.
Bullied.
You
We might
guys
need to
pressured
go.
me.
Okay.
I
All
was
right.
pressured into
I showed
trying to
John.
imitate
I showed John.
Derek.
I turned the podcast on and showed John. He said that actually sounded like Derek.
Thanks.
Yours was a much better imitation.
Other than the trip to Westmoreland Mall to buy some sports cards, I watched a lot of movies. I bet you I watched 15, 16 movies last
Did you
night.
watch Napoleon Dynamite?
No, I was on a Gene Hackman kick because he recently died, so I watched Hoosiers for like the 10th time. I watched Crimson Tide. Have you ever seen that movie?
I'm not.
It's a submarine
What?
movie with Denzel
I've seen
Washington.
that movie.
Not Alabama.
Crimson,
Anything
yeah.
with Denzel Washington, sign me up.
Okay. I'll mark that down. Put that in the memory bank.
I know that's what you're concerned
Remember
with.
the Titans?
Oh, don't even get me started.
Pelican Brief?
I am
Have you ever
upset.
seen?
Yeah.
Hello.
Equalizer. I'm all for Equalizer.
Julia
1
Roberts is in
and
that.
2.
Well,
We were also thinking. I was thinking this. You and I have spent more time with each other than we have with our families over the past 3.5 years. I have not spent any time.
that's why I'm so depressed.
I have not spent more time with anyone but you since I started working.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'll try to liven your life up a little bit more every week.
I was thinking about this. You said that you got that pack of cards for $10. If it was the pack from 1982, you basically bought it for face value. If you probably counting inflation from the last 43
Pretty
years,
much.
that would have been what, $1 pack that back then.
Well, there
75
was
cents?
15 cards in a pack, so back then,
You're saying $1 back then is $10 now.
Probably.
That's
pretty
that's a
darn
shame.
close.
I mean, that's just normal. Even discounting some of the stuff
No,
that's happened in the last few years, it's fairly normal.
I was down at our friend down in Cranberry at the Card Castle a few years ago, and there was a pack of early 90s, like I guess it would have been like 92, 93 basketball cards. I can't remember what brand, but obviously that was Shaq's rookie year, like the year that he came into the NBA.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what brand it was, but he was selling this pack of cards. One pack of cards, I think there were 12 cards in the pack for about $2,000. Because if Shaq's rookie's in there and it's in good shape, I mean, that card itself is worth like $2,000. So that's how much he was good. How many packs was he selling at $2,000 a
many.
clip?
That's why I like going with the cheap cards.
I I just am scared that I threw away my holographic Gen 1 Charizard card.
I'll stick with Muggsy Bogues.
His
His rookie's
card,
worth like 30 cents.
a decent shape Gen 1 holographic Charizard card would go for several $1,000s. Or at least several hundred if it's been used a little bit. And I know I used it because I was 8 years old at the time that I had that card.
I think I told you guys my brother back in like October, we took out his shoebox of football cards and he had a rookie Josh Allen in it. And he had like the plastic. I put it in the plastic sleeve whenever we were teenagers because I was like, hey, this might be worth something someday. Turns out it is. He sent it out to get graded, which like you mail it out and they send it back in like a nice plastic case that says like 9.5 or 10 or whatever the grade is. Looks pretty cool. Like it's official. And one of our friends, if it comes back in good condition, is going to pay $1,200 for it. I was like, wow. I'm kind of mad that you're selling that card because I wouldn't.
Real quick, what's the oldest card you have? Oldest. Bednarik?
It might be. It
Chuck
might be.
Bednarik. I think that's 58 or 59 tops. I have 2 tobacco cards from 1909. That's how they used to disperse cards in packs of like tobacco.
Yeah.
Like that you could roll like cigarettes with. And 2 tobacco cards. I don't even know who the guys are, but they're both from 1909. Not in good shape.
Still cool to have.
Yeah, they're cool to have. Just the fact that it's that old.
Like I thought even with that Bednarik card, we talked to my dad on the podcast last week. That card has been on this earth longer than my dad has, which is like crazy to think.
Wow.
1950s. Like
1909 now dates basically everyone on earth.
Chuck Bednarik made the final tackle in the 1960 NFL championship game against the Green Bay Packers. Eagles won that game 17-13, the only postseason game Vince Lombardi ever lost.
Go Birds.
I just know that hit.
Against Gifford.
Yeah,
he about killed him. Yeah.
I showed Bailey the Here Comes the Boom like hit montage on YouTube.
Yeah.
I showed her
12 minutes.
that. I showed her that and I thought that she was gonna like be like at some of the hits and she just watched like okay. I was like, people are getting beheaded and you're like, all right.
Gifford actually missed an entire season because of that hit.
Really?
Yep. He
From
missed the whole
Bednarik?
season.
Really?
Yeah. Missed
I did
an
not know
entire
that.
year. Yep. You look on Gifford's career stats, that I think that hit happened in 60, the year that the Eagles went on to win. And Gifford's career is like, I think 54, 55 up to 60. And then there's no stats for 61 and then 62, 63. And I think he played up to 64.
Wow.
There's no stats the next year because he was out.
I know you mentioned like I like the newer cards. I think the newer cards are like more sleek and like they're not cardboard. But I am like
What do you got against cardboard?
like it's flimsy. So I am infatuated. Like I don't think you realize this. I am infatuated like early 1900s football. Like even 60s when Don Hudson was playing. I sent a tweet to my friend the other day.
30s and 40s.
30s and 40s. Man, well, I sent a tweet to my friend. I was like, "There's just something special about this era of football. Like just how it looks."
I know we'll ask you about the championship game later tonight, but what do you think of all 4 number 1s making it?
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like with the NIL stuff now, it might be more commonplace that happening. Just not as many upsets, but I do think it is pretty rare. Like I think those 4 teams, I remember reading were like I think they're all in the like top 10 all time like Ken Palm ratings.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is just a unique year where there's just so much talent. So it'll be interesting. I thought it was cool. I mean, good basketball. Sometimes it's good just to see best on best. So we'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah.
Joining us today is Butler basketball great Ethan Morton. The 2,000-point scorer with the Golden Tornado is fresh off his 5th NCAA tournament appearance after he helped Colorado State win its first Mountain West title in 22 years. The Rams season ended with a loss to Maryland in the second round of the dance. Ethan was also on Purdue's squad the last 4 years and they also made the national championship a year ago. Ethan, we appreciate you taking time to join us. Welcome to the show.
I appreciate you guys having me on, man. Just appreciate what you guys do, and always appreciate people in Butler. So happy to do it.
Ethan, has it set in yet that your collegiate career is done, and were you thinking about that during the season?
Yeah, it's set in a little bit. It'll probably set in more as like towards the end of the spring or in the summer, because you're just in that routine of going back and forth to school, and you go back and you spend your summers at school and do practice and workouts. So when that time rolls around and I don't have somewhere to be from June to August, it'll definitely be weird. There was some finality of it, obviously, after the game and stuff. It wasn't something I thought about a ton during the season, but once we got to the end, it was weird just because for our team, obviously we struggled a lot at the beginning of the year and then played really well at the end. So as we were getting down to it, it was our last couple regular season games, and then we go to the Mountain West Tournament, and it's basically if you lose, you're done. So it's always sort of in the back of your mind. But it was a cool deal. I know I'm going on a tangent here already. It's a bad habit of mine, but it reminded me a lot of my senior year of high school. When we got to the end of the year, it just felt like we weren't going to lose no matter what. So I didn't think about it a whole lot. But overall, definitely a little weird. I'm sure it'll set in over time.
I always say better talk too much than not enough, especially in interviews. So
Brendan's the master of that.
So you've had some memorable runs and games from high school through college, from being on Butler State tournament team to the Final Four win 2 years ago, helping Colorado State win a tournament game this season. Whether one of those or another, what was your favorite team to be on during your basketball career?
That's a great question. Man, there was a lot of good ones. It's crazy because I feel like this year in high school was awesome. I feel like I had a lot of teams that were really great. Even my freshman year of high school was one of my favorites. Just played with a ton of great dudes, that really helped me along as a player and everything. But this year in particular, I loved my time at Purdue. I thought it was super cool. We obviously accomplished a lot, but I think my team this year might have been my favorite just because, like I hit on in the last few minutes, we were not good at the beginning of the year, just to put it bluntly. We were 5-5, lost at Colorado by 20. Lost at home to UC Riverside. We were probably 200 something in the net. We were just not very good, to be quite honest. And we just kept plugging away and getting better. And we had a lot of guys really step up, that changed our season. But I've just never been around a group that turned it around like that and really just overachieved. I think, overcame expectations. I think we were picked to finish maybe 7th in the league. So to be able to finish 2nd in the regular season and win the Mountain West Tournament, which they haven't done in a super long time. It was so awesome, just so rewarding to be a part of it. I couldn't have asked to be a part of a better group of people. So just super lucky and thankful, because that was I'll have those memories for the rest of my life. It was pretty great. So.
Yeah, and I know you spoke with John a few weeks ago. I'm not sure. Maybe you've talked to anyone more during a basketball career than him. So you talked to him about March Madness, but also that Butler team in 2020 that kind of had its PIAA run cut short by COVID. How far do you think you guys could have gone in that tournament?
Yeah, man. We were just on such a roll that year. It was kind of crazy because every game, it just felt like the absolute worst thing that could have happened. Whether it was to go to the WPIAL championship, obviously we probably should have lost in the first round, to Peters Township. So to get through that, and then, we come back and get Upper St. Clair right at the end. The WPIAL was the only non-exciting game, because even in the state, we had 2 crazy games. And but no, I just feel like, honestly, no matter who we were playing, I thought we were gonna make it to the end at least. I think we would have played McDowell in the quarters, and that would have been super tough. They had the Jeffries kid and some other guys. I just think we were just in such a zone. Now, when we got to the championship, and we probably would have played Roman Catholic, and they had Jalen Duran and a couple other high major players, we probably would have had some issues, but I wouldn't put it past, Coach Clement and those guys. We would have been ready, and you just never know. You just never know, man. But it would have been hard for me to bet against us with how we were playing.
Definitely. Yeah, and you mentioned Coach Clement there. Do you ever think about any funny stories or anything interesting that happened with him or your team while you were there at Butler?
I'm trying to think. God, it was so long ago. I just remember the locker rooms were always so awesome. I mean, that was always the best part. I think just getting to enjoy those locker rooms with those guys, because we won a lot of big games and a lot of great comebacks, and just man, we just enjoyed the heck out of those. I will say, Coach had a saying that you could say he stole it from Kirk Cousins, but he would say you like that. He'd come out every playoff game and say that last year, and it was just so awesome. He actually, when we got our WPIAL, he got us like some WPIAL championship rings. He actually got that engraved like on the inside, which is pretty funny. So, but not just the guys we had. Honestly, he's had a great group of dudes, and that's what makes these things special. More so than what you accomplish. Obviously, when you accomplish a lot, it's pretty cool, but it's the type of people you got in the room that make it, and we just always had good dudes, and it was just made it so fun to win. So,
the start of that question got a little bit choppy there. You said it was the Kirk Cousins. You like that thing that Clement used to say?
It was what you said. He was awesome. He'd get super fired up. So.
We struck out twice there on that. Both times we tried to ask you.
Zoom hates that story.
You were getting censored by Zoom.
It's just the drive. It's driving.
Speaking a little bit more recently, I want to ask you another funnier question here. Like Zach Edey, we saw him go viral a couple of years ago with cutting down the net without needing the ladder because he's a gigantic man. And then he meets Shaq, who is another gigantic man and is actually taller than Shaq, which I didn't think was possible. Do you have any stories about Zach? Like, is there anything funny that comes to mind about him? Something he did one day, or something that someone may have done to him in practice or at a game or hanging out?
Yeah, I mean, there's 100 stories I could tell you about him. He's just a good dude, super funny, kind of laid back, low key. When I first met him, I mean, the first time we met was pretty funny. We had just got to Purdue, and he must have got there maybe a couple days later than us. And we were going to play. It was COVID, so we couldn't play pickup at the gym yet for whatever reason. So we went to the local gym, and we're just playing pickup until, things were ready. So he drove with his mom, I think, from Canada. He literally hopped out of a minivan and just came right out and played with us. And that was the first time I'd met him. And this dude had a really bad bowl cut. And oh my, that first open gym, he was not good. He just wasn't good. He was just very uncoordinated and whatever. And God, he just got so much better even that year. And obviously from where he was then to now is just it's one of the best stories I've ever seen. But no, there was plenty of memories, over the years of us winning, losing, and he definitely never liked getting up early for practice or anything like that. Definitely wasn't a morning person. So, but no, I'm just very grateful that I had the chance to be his teammate and play with him, and I'm lucky enough to still have a good relationship with him now, and just have a lot of respect for what he's accomplished and everything, because he did stuff the right way. So,
how did your 1 year with Colorado? You touched on this a little bit ago, but how did your 1 year at Colorado State compare to those 4 years at Purdue? You commit to Purdue. That's the school that you chose originally right out of high school. You go on those March Madness runs, including making the national championship 2 years ago, and then you get one final year here with Colorado State. So how did those two experiences compare?
Yeah, obviously very different. For a lot of reasons, just as you go to style of play, league, all that kind of stuff. I will say the similar thing was we just had good people and great coaches. So it made it enjoyable. People did stuff the right way. But not just, I think for me, I just got to, be a different player, at Purdue. We just had so many talented guys. I mean, I was talking the other day, outside of obviously, Zach and then playing with Jaden Ivey my first 2 years, we just had a lot of good players. So I just had to realize early on if I had to play defense to get on the floor and just play more of a role. We had, it's hard to argue. We had a top 5 pick my freshman, sophomore year. And then the next 2 years, we, have Zach, 2-time player of the year. And then on top of that, playing with Braden Smith and Trey, last year, and Braden and Fletch the last 2 years before that. Braden, is the first team All-American, should probably win player of the year next year. So we just had a ton of talent, and, that's not an excuse, but, you had to find a way to fit in. So didn't necessarily play to my strengths always. So to get a chance this year to go up to Colorado State and still, obviously just different in college. I never really figured out how to score the ball at a high level, but get downhill at the rim. It wasn't like, we needed 4 shooters around a big post guy. Our offense was very free flowing, and so it was cool just to get to play a different style of hoops. And get to play with different players and just run different stuff. It really opened my eyes to the game can be a lot more than just what we did at Purdue. There's a bunch of different ways to skin a cat, essentially. So I'd say that was probably the biggest thing. And it was just super enjoyable to find the love for playing the game again. Because I'm not afraid to say this. When I was at Purdue, I lost that a little bit and a lot. At the end, and it took a while even this year to kind of overcome there just as a person and as a player, and I think it worked out in the end, so I'm glad that I did it.
Ethan, we mentioned earlier that you helped Colorado State win its first Mountain West Conference championship in 22 years. In the title game against Boise State, you scored 11 points, a career high for you. What did that mean? Something extra for you to have statistically your best game on that stage in your final season?
Yeah, for sure. I told Coach Medved after the game, I'm like, hey, it only took me 130 games to score 10 points, so thanks for unlocking that for me. But nah, seriously though, it was really special. I was so emotional after the game just because obviously the stakes were high, and you don't really realize, feel like when you're in that format, played the night before at like 3 p.m., to go to the NCAA tournament. So it's like you just got to muster up whatever you got, and when you don't have anything, you got to find something else. And so I don't think you realize this, but in that game, tough circumstances for us. We're trying to beat a team for the 3rd time that year who was a good team. I thought a really good team, probably an NCAA tournament team. So to beat a team 3 times, especially after we had beat them at Boise to finish the regular season on their senior night, we knew they were going to be charged up, and knew pretty much we weren't going to get into the tournament unless we won. So it was cool to deliver, when the stakes were super high. But yeah, it was just so awesome, and to have my family there, and I was an emotional wreck after the game, just tears, and because I thought after last year, I just wondered, would I ever be able to play or have an impact at any level of hoops? For me to do that on that stage was after the year before was pretty cool and pretty rewarding for me. So I was just super glad that I was able to have a good game. So Colorado
State's season and your collegiate career ended with that 2nd round loss to Maryland. Take us back to that moment. The game's decided at the buzzer. Derek Queen banks the winner off the glass, and you're defending him with some tight defense. What did you see on that play, and can you share your immediate feeling as you saw that the ball go in?
Yeah, that was tough. The hard part, I think, I'll probably never get over it just because as a competitor, that kind of stuff bothers you. But what bothered me was I feel like we had outplayed them, most of the game, if not the whole game, outside of a few minutes here and there. We out-rebounded them, and, I thought really guarded them well. And so, I'm a big believer in the basketball gods, and normally you get rewarded for doing all that stuff. And, for whatever reason, we did it, and that's fine. The kid made a great play, and they're a good team too. I'm not saying they didn't deserve to win, but man, that last play, yeah, I checked in. So I was sort of in and out the last few minutes. We were sort of doing some offense, defense stuff, and obviously Jay Lake makes that huge three, and there's 3 seconds, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And I checked in, and in my mind, I was like, oh, we're going to the Sweet 16. Like, I knew in my mind this dude was going to have to make an unbelievable play for them to win. And he kind of, as the play started, right before, as they were lining up in their set or whatever, I saw him he was on the block, so I figured it was maybe just going to be a straight post up. But he kind of went off a zipper screen up the left elbow and got at the top of the key. And when he caught it, I was like, well, you always say you normally have 2 second for every dribble. Now that's more full court, but so I knew he's going to have 2 or 3 dribbles and he's going to have to get to something. And his first dribble, he really tried to get downhill, and I thought I did a good job of sort of just bumping him off his line. So instead of him getting to the block, I sort of forced him out to the short corner, and man, when he went up for it, and I contested it, because I've done that a million times in my life, and I contested, I'm like, I'm like, we won. I felt that contest a million times. I'm like, this dude will not make the shot, and then I didn't even look, and all of a sudden everybody racked it, and I'm just like, holy crap. Like that, I was just shocked that it went in, but unbelievable play by an unbelievable player. Obviously, that dude's going to play in the NBA for a long time, as he should. Definitely disappointed because, I mean, man, for us to have made a Sweet 16 under those circumstances would have been pretty remarkable. But there's, at the end of the day, there's nothing I can change on it. Dude just made an unbelievable play, and it's what March is all about at the end of the day. I mean, of course, you'd like to be on the right side of it, but that's just part of competing. Sometimes you're going to get got by good guys, and that's just kind of how it goes. So
Yeah, and you've paid attention as the tournament was going on without you guys in it. This episode doesn't drop until Thursday, so maybe you can do some post-production editing with some winning or losing game show sound. But who do you have winning tonight, and how does that game go down?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you guys hit on before with the 4-1 seeds, it's kind of like you can make a really good case for all of them. I personally thought it was going to be Florida Duke, so Houston surprised me. Man, I just think, I don't know, after watching Houston again, I should have given them more credit, to beat Duke, even though Duke should have beat them, to be honest. They just folded at the end of the game. But Houston, I mean, didn't even play a great game. I think I'll probably have to go with them. If Cryer and Sharp and those guys just make enough shots, because they're going to defend, I think they'll have a really good game plan for Walter Clayton. And they're just so damn tough. God, I mean, that's like the epitome of toughness in college hoops right now is their program. So it's hard to pick against them. I think as talented and as big as Florida is, I think it'll be Houston, but it should be a great game. I'm excited to watch it, and excited to see like the coaching battle too. There'll be a lot of moves within moves, within the game between those two guys, and just very contrasting styles as well. So I'd say Houston, but it'll be close for sure.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much you keep up with the Pirates, but every time Colin Holderman, he's a relief pitcher, he steps on the mound, he looks just like you. Have you noticed that? Has anyone kind of pointed that out to you?
Yes, that a few years when they first traded for him, and he came up and he pitched, and we were watching one game, and he was in the bullpen, and we were all like, "Huh, this dude looks exactly like you." Like it was sort of creepy. Feel bad because they're sort of struggling and he's struggling. So I hope the best for him and them, but they're just pretty terrible. Let's be honest. I don't know any other way to put it, fortunately. And it hurts me because I'm like a huge Pittsburgh sports fan. So it's just such a shame to see them not even really try to put a good product out there when you have one really generational player and a couple others that are like super talented. So it's disappointing.
Definitely.
But,
Well, Ethan, we gotta let you go here in a minute so you can get to Indy. But last question I had, I would love to be able to just talk like basketball nerd dork stuff with you because you've been just going off on the X's and O's and the ins and outs of the matchups.
Yeah, I could chat hoops all day. That's one of my kryptonites. Yeah.
So what's next for you here? The next few weeks or maybe even with basketball going forward, what are you looking to do?
Yeah, so I feel like, I've tossed around for a while. I mean, obviously I know I'm going to coach someday. I have a strong belief in myself and the knowledge I have and how I can connect with people. I think I could be a really great coach someday. That's to be determined where, what level, whatever. But, I'm going to I'm going to keep playing. So, I feel like I've just put a lot into hoops and into myself, and I wouldn't want to hop into coaching now and then look back and be like, man, I wish I would have tried to keep playing, just because you never know what can happen. So yeah, I'm gonna try and play overseas. That process moves kind of slow right now, just because in Europe they're still getting ready to start playoffs and all that stuff, so won't be really solidified till later in the summer, but that's the plan. Don't know where. It's not going to be for much money or anything in Europe. That's just kind of how it is at first. I'll be a lower level guy, and you just got to try and play well and work your way up. So that's the plan. And then, it's kind of a nice win-win for me. I look at it, if it doesn't work out after 1 year, I can say that I did it and lived in Europe for a year and tried it out. And then great, I can come back and get into coaching. And then the other side of it is, I feel like I got a lot better this year and feel like there's still a lot of meat on the bone for me as I'm kind of, getting back to who I was as a player. So if I can keep getting better, who knows what kind of career I can make of it over there. There's a lot of Whitfield guys that have had success over there that are still playing. So I feel like that's something I can do as well. So just, that's the plan. I don't have to, no rush or anything. I can take my time and enjoy this process, and then just get back to working out and trying to get better. So that's the deal moving forward, I guess.
Butler grad and Golden Tornado basketball great Ethan Morton, we appreciate your time. Safe travels.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Ethan.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Yep. We had our first big track meet of the season this past Saturday. Jake, you were up at Butler High School, Art Bernardi Stadium, to cover the Butler County Classic. What were some of your takeaways from that?
So, a lot. Several hundred local athletes all competing. I could not get to all of it. It was way too fast. Field events were up the hill. We did get lucky that the rain mostly subsided outside of a few minutes here and there where it would sprinkle. So that was a good thing. We got really lucky there. Biggest takeaways I had from this was Butler's relay teams, especially on the boys' side, looked just as good as advertised coming off the indoor season, in which they were winning most of their meets, and two of their teams got to the state championship in indoor season last month. Kevin Shriver won the 100 by 0.01 seconds. The top three were separated by 0.03. Gabe Hine from Mars was number 3 on that. That was probably the best race of the day. And Shriver's on 2 of those relay teams, the 4x4 and the 4x1. Freeport's Michael Braun. We've talked about him a lot during cross country season. He's going to Penn State next year. Really good distance runner. He ran the 800 and the 4x8 on Saturday. He's been dealing with a hip injury for the last couple months, I believe, and he's just kind of building himself back up. They took a little bit of a breather after indoor season, in which he medaled at the state championships, and they're just building him back up. He expects to be able to run the 2 mile, the 3,200 by the Butler Invite in 10 days. Well, actually 7 by the time this episode drops. But he said he's feeling better. They're just trying to take it easy with him and not push it too hard. On the girls' side, the area's strengths are clearly in the sprints and hurdles and the field events. North Catholic's Anna Lazara and Audra Lazara are both really good sprinters and hurdlers. They dominated the day at the Butler County Classic. And Kara Fennell was a 3-time medalist at the event. She won the long jump and the triple jump, and she was second in the pole vault. Also got to watch out for Carly Butterball. We've heard about her last year. She was really good. I think she won a state medal last year. Definitely won whip wheels. She won the shot and the javelin pretty easily. And Seneca Valley's Jordan Monteleone, she won the high jump, and Aubrey Erdos won the pole vault, breaking a meet record. So like that's where the strengths are. The middle distances and the distances and some of the throws are not quite there yet in the county, but we got some really serious talent in the sprints and those field events on the girls' side.
One of the things I like about covering track as the season goes on is you see kids put up really good efforts for early April now, but there's no it's not a given that these kids are going to be able to carry that type of effort and keep improving until you get to the district meet and then the state meet. I mean, in an event like the hurdles or the pole vault where there's so much technique and timing involved, you can have a great season and get the whip wheels, and just for whatever reason your technique's a little bit off that day, and if it's off that day, you don't even get a chance to go to state. Yeah. So the kids that are able to continue to improve their times or their in the throwing events, the distances, heights in the pole vault, for the kids that are able to continue that progression during the course of the season, just because you have talent, you got to have it that day. And that's why I love covering the district meets and the state championships. So we'll see. You mentioned some of them. There's other ones out there. We're going to see how they progress over the next month and a half to see exactly what is going to be most memorable about their season. And even though this is a big early season meet, all these kids they don't want the county classic to be their highlight. They want it to be a building block, building towards something bigger.
You actually kind of tied into something I just remembered, or you reminded me of something. I was talking with Nico Bagetta. He's sophomore this year. He throws javelin. He was also backup quarterback and I think safety for the football team this past year. If you're the football fan of the football team, you're excited from what he can do with the javelin. He was talking about he threw 170-ish on Saturday. He wanted to break the school record of 183, I think he said it was, or the meet record. But his goal is to get to 190. So I was asking him, like, what do you need to do to jump 20 whole feet in javelin? Like, I don't know the techniques and all this stuff. And he was walking me through, like, how he needs to keep his hip open later, and then so that way he can create, like, faster torque around on the throw instead of, like, kind of closing that hip off as he throws, too early. But if you're, a fan of the football team, he was a potential starting quarterback next year. If he's throwing an extra 20 feet by the end of the season, that's a pretty good thing. They need some of that deep passing.
Speaking of track and football, Brendan here used to be on the football team up at Butler, graduated in 2017. If you had to compete, if you were forced to compete in one event, track and field, where you think you could have the most success, which one would you compete in? I
went to one track meet or track practice, 9th grade, 10th grade.
Told to leave and never come back.
9th grade. We ran around the halls of the intermediate, which if you ever go to the intermediate high school, it's just a square. So it's like
just
2 floors.
Laps.
Just run laps. So
and
we
the
ran
corners
laps.
are short brick edges.
Yep. We ran laps for like 2 hours straight. So finally I get home. The next day I wake up, I can't walk. I say to my dad, I said, I'm never going back, and I didn't. So I had enough.
So
of that.
a throwing event then.
But after high school, I got pretty into running like distance. I'd run 7 miles every other day in like 90-degree heat, and it was nothing for me. Like it was at the point where I was running 7 miles in under like 55 minutes, and that was hills too. So I got really bored. That's what I did, and I ran like 500 miles that summer. Wore out the shoes that my dad gave me, but probably would have run 1,600. That being said, because it's distance and you don't have to. I'm not the fastest. I've never been the fastest. I try to run away from my friends when we play football. It doesn't really work. My approach was more so put my shoulder down and try to run them over, but that wasn't me in high school either because I weighed 140.
Yeah.
So.
We'll put you down for the pole vault. We'll see how you do in that.
I was going to say pole vault too.
I feel like he would be a shot putter.
No. Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, I could see shot put. If there was a field event.
Do you have strong legs?
Yeah.
I could see shot put on.
Because that's a lot of leg, but it's a lot of all body too.
But in high school,
Shot
I
put.
was slim. I'm telling you, like I was like super skinny.
I mean, if you
So-
were 140 in high school, that was about. I was a little less than you when I graduated. I was like 138, I think, and then I dropped. You know, the freshman 15 in college that you're supposed to put on. I lost 15 pounds in college. I don't know how. I was like 128 or something like that. At five,
Wait,
like,
what?
I was like 5'10 and a half, 5'11, and 128 pounds. I'm not kidding.
Flat Stanley walking around over here.
I'm
That's
not
right. We
kidding.
hey guys, we have a
And it-
special
so it's
guest today. We didn't even know. Flat Stanley's
All,
here.
it's olive oil.
Yeah, that's right.
It was. Let me tell you this. It was not by intent. It
I
was
would have been
not
Popeye
by.
next to you.
It was not like something going on mental health wise or sickness or anything like that.
You were just skinny.
I went from like playing volleyball and bowling and running around with friends and being in marching band to like not doing anything in college. So what little weight I had on me going into freshman year, I lost all of it because I wasn't running around anymore.
I think it's usually the other way around.
So
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
so how much did you weigh freshman year of college? How much did you say
To
you weighed?
start, I was probably around Brendan's weight. I was probably around 140 when I started.
I weighed
freshman
more
year.
than you my freshman year of college.
And I was probably about
And I was-
125 when freshman year ended.
I was squatting 285. I was 165 pounds, and I was like, boom, I was like,
I think I didn't squat
'Cause I was a
285
runner.
until I was like
I ran
24.
track.
That's why you went to Clarion.
that's why.
Only
Yeah.
winners go to Clarion.
Well, I mean,
I did.
you know,
I finally decided to work out going into my junior year of college.
I went there because I had to pay for it. That's why. Sorry, go ahead. If you really want to know.
I finally like got into working out in junior year of college, and I put on like 25 pounds over the course of a year. I went from like I think I was up to
Nice.
about 130, 135 starting junior year, and I got to about 155, 160. Just because I finally was putting in effort
Yeah.
for once. I didn't do
Muscle.
anything special. I mean, you look at me on camera right now. For those of you unfortunate enough to be seeing me, it's not anything special now. It wasn't anything special then.
It's okay. They look over here and their eyes. feel
Some
better.
people make a
Yep.
mark with their bodies. Other people make marks with their mind. That's you, Jake. It's all up
Thank
here with
you,
Jake.
Derek.
It's all up
That's
there.
how
Thank
that's
you.
how you got Derek with your mind.
That is.
Yeah.
That's how I won him over.
15-15.
Derek, I'll tell you, I was a very strong 0-1 last week.
Brendan told me.
Yeah, it was bad.
As Ethan Morton just told us, Pirates are kind of terrible this year. Not doing great. They beat the Yankees somehow yesterday. But I figured
Blind
I'd switch-
squirrel, Brendan. Blind
I figured
squirrel.
I'd switch it up a little bit for you here. Who are the only two Pirates to ever win the NL Cy Young Award?
I'm going to take a stab at this right now.
The wheels are
Doug
turning.
Drabeck, Vernon Law.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I forgot there was a really
19.
easy one that I asked
Hey.
Jake. I forgot what that was. Remember I told you I had an easy one, like a change up. I forgot what the question
yeah.
was.
I'm blanking on that now, too.
Yeah.
So
we were talking about that in the office.
Vernon Law won the Cy Young in 1960, the years the Pirates went on to beat the Yankees in the World Series. I don't know his numbers from that year, but I can tell you exactly what Doug Drabeck's numbers were in 1990.
I'm gonna look this up.
Okay, look it up. No, I don't want
Okay.
any extra credit. I just want to,
Okay,
sometimes I'm made to look like a fool with trivia. Today, I'm not a fool.
You're
Let's go.
back above 500.
1990, Doug Drabeck, 22-6, 2.76 ERA.
yep.
That's all I know.
Wow. I couldn't tell you a single stat of any player ever.
Roberto Clemente, 3,000 hits.
73 home runs, Barry Bonds. I got that one.
Roberto Clemente, 240 home runs. Here's the thing that amazes me about Clemente. He wasn't Lou Brock. He wasn't Maury Wills. He didn't have that kind of speed, but he was fast. He was fast. You know, he ended his career with 83 stolen bases. I mean,
Just 83?
and he played 18 years, 83 stolen bases. I think the most he had in one season was 12.
In an era when players stole bases all the time.
83 stolen bases for an 18-year career. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to go off board here real quick. You guys have any thoughts on the whole Roberto Clemente right field sign fiasco of the weekend?
I
do.
saw a blurb about they're taking it down. I mean, fill me in what's going on here.
So the home opener was this past weekend, so
Yeah.
no one saw this until now. They put a Surfside alcohol ad on it, which is from Philadelphia. I didn't realize that, actually. So there you go. We got some bad blood going into the season. The
East is least.
The Pirates didn't say anything about it. They just put the ad there. They took the sign commemorating Clemente down. Some fans noticed right away. It became, a little bit of a social media controversy. Clemente's son, Junior,
was not happy about it.
Was not happy. Said they weren't consulted about it. They weren't asked about it. That they felt it was a little bit disrespectful. Pirates released an initial statement on Sunday saying this was always meant to be a temporary sign because they didn't have advertising in that corner during COVID, so they put that up in 2022 just because he played right field, and it was supposed to be temporary. And then later that day, they came back out and said, "We are sorry. We will take the sign down and put the commemorative post back up on the wall."
Think Surfside sales drop at all after that one?
In Pittsburgh,
They
definitely.
they got the statue of him outside. The right field wall was 21 feet because of Clemente's uniform number. I mean, honestly, when you've been as bad as the Pirates have been over the last 30 years, they had that 3-year stretch where they were good about 10, 12 years ago. But you're basically, except for that stretch a decade ago, you're pretty much forcing people to not just remember and, pay homage, so to speak, to the greats, but I mean that's like the glory days, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Stargell. I mean, what do they have to root for now? I mean,
I did see
McCutcheon going for 350 career home runs.
I'm not sure how many. I know you have Twitter. I'm not sure how much you use. I'm not sure how much you use it either. But there is a highlight package of Paul Skeens floating around that starts with an interview with Livy Dunn, and it's like the typical questions for a couple, what is your favorite thing about me? And she looks into the camera and she's like, probably my personality. And he goes, yeah. He's like, I guess so. And it cuts to him pitching. It's one of the coolest highlight montages I've seen in a while.
People can, even with Skeens, and he's obviously a great talent, Pirate fans can see it coming. He's gonna, as long as he stays healthy, which hopefully he does, but they can see it.
I mean, he's
gone.
I was talking to Josh about this.
with his girlfriend. He's going.
I was talking to my best friend about this on Saturday.
Yankees,
actually.
Dodgers, or Cubs? Where's it going?
Having Paul Skeens is like having a super, super attractive girlfriend that you just know is too good for you. She's leaving at some point. So
you're just going to enjoy the ride while you have it.
You're happy, but you're also I'm going to be by myself.
One of these days, Paul Skeens is going to wake up and be like, I don't want to be with this person anymore.
If I hear 5-year plan one more time.
Welcome to Me on Butler, our weekly segment where we talk about something outside of Butler County sports, whether that be professionally, collegiately, or last week's edition, video games. Derek, you missed out.
Darn.
I'm sure you guys know at this point, I've kind of been tracking Alexander Ovechkin getting the NHL goals record, which was at one time thought to be kind of impossible to beat Wayne Gretzky. He did in the same amount of games, which I thought was pretty interesting. Kind of a coincidence there. What do you guys think of that? And what do you think now is the most unbreakable record in sports?
Well, first of all, the most unbreakable record in sports for me would be, I know this is really taking the easy way out because there's no way this record's ever being broken. Cy Young, 511 wins. I mean, nobody's ever getting to that.
You could say Cal Ripken Jr. Someone could break that record. There's a physical possibility someone could play enough years and never get injured to beat that. But baseball's never going back.
I don't know what this is, but here's another one. What's the record for complete games in the major leagues? Whatever it is, it's not. I mean, guys. If a pitcher ends a season now with 2 complete games, that's like, oh my gosh.
Also Cy Young, 749.
Okay, 749 complete
You know how
games.
bad his arm probably hurt when he retired? He probably just had a limp arm the rest of his life.
The thing was, though, those guys were throwing 75, 80 miles an hour. The point of baseball back then was continue play. It wasn't get people out. The pitcher's job was basically to institute the play. So they were not throwing anything like what we see now. I mean, most of them didn't throw any breaking balls, really.
I mean, we live and we're watching baseball now in a day and age when a guy can have a no-hitter through 7 innings. And just because of his pitch count, pull him.
Like they did with Skeens last year against the Brewers.
I never thought I'd say this as a baseball fan. My fandom for the major leagues is much less than it was, heck, even 10 years ago. But you realize now that it is actually there's a higher percentage. I think this is true of a guy throwing a no-hitter than simply a regular complete game.
Wow.
I would say that because, as I just mentioned, there are guys who have a no-hitter through 7 innings and they get pulled. But if a guy has a no-hitter through 7, or if he's just pitching well and doesn't have a no-hitter, I think the manager pulling him is greater if he's on pace for a complete game as opposed to a no-hitter. I think a no-hitter has a better chance of happening these days.
You remember when Johan Santana had that no-hitter where he had like over 130 pitches?
Yeah.
And his career like went downhill after that. Like he had that big, like that's the peak, and then whoop.
It's like that year that Bobby Abreu won the home run derby. And like the rest of the year, he had like 4 home runs.
Knew that was happening. Like as it was going, I was like, yes, he's gonna win this thing, and you're just going, and then his season's gonna fall apart, and it did. The last 2 things on the baseball side, I did not expect to add to my vernacular torpedo bats or kick change. I learned what a kick change was over the weekend. It's a new type of changeup that players are throwing. It's the way that they grip it. I forget exactly what the description is, but that was an interesting one. But to answer your question, Brendan, on the Ovechkin,
I forgot about that. Gretzky rolls.
I just didn't think that record was going to be broken. I mean, I've never followed hockey as much as baseball and football, but that was one of those hallowed records, and
that's also back in the days when the NHL, there was a lot more goals scored in the 80s. A lot more goals scored in the 80s.
And he's this is a poor way to explain it. He's always been viewed as like a one-trick pony. He's the sniper from the right dot, and yet he still managed to score more. He can score in way many more ways than that, but he's always been known as a sniper first, and he still, like, everyone knows what's coming, and he still wins. And he scored his record-breaking goal was on a sniper.
He's no Sidney Crosby.
Not that I'm a big hockey guy, but Gretzky, and I don't know if this is still the case, but at one point it was, and it was the case long after Gretzky's retirement. He played his last game, I believe it was in 1999 for the Rangers. There was a point when you could have taken Gretzky's stats and just wiped out all the goals.
Mm-hmm. Just have more points than anybody else.
He still would have had more assists than any other player in NHL history had. Points. Yeah. Which is goals and assists, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's still the case. I mean, I don't know if that gets broken.
And obviously, I know, Ovechkin's a great player, but how many cups has he won?
1.
And Gretzky's got, 4, I think, with the Oilers. So,
yeah.
Although, after he got traded to the Kings, the Oilers went on to win another cup without him. And I saw an interview with him one time. He kind of took that personally because obviously when he was at Edmonton, he was God up there. And they traded him to the Kings, and they went on to win another cup.
I thought he wanted out, though. Didn't he kind of force the trade to LA?
If you ever see the documentary, it's a 30 for 30 by ESPN.
King's Ransom.
King's Ransom.
I've never seen it, but I know it.
He wanted more money, but he thought he would get it from Edmonton because he just figured, hey, I'm Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
And the owner at the time of the Oilers, I can't remember his name now. Again, I'm not a big hockey guy, but he said there was no way that we were going to pay that, and we knew if we traded him, look how much we'd be getting in return. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to leave Edmonton, but at the same time, he wanted paid what he thought he was worth. He thought Edmonton would pay up, and they didn't.
Okay.
I think the most unbreakable record in today's era of free agency is the most seasons with one franchise in any sport. In the NFL, it's Lou Groza and Jason Hansen, who were both kickers, and Groza played offensive tackle. They were with their teams for 21 years. I don't think that's something you'll see.
Wow.
Learn something there.
You never know. I mean, 20 years from now, we could be talking about Kenny Pickett, Hall of Fame quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
With one team, though.
Just with one team. Just with one team.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He'll play 22 years with the Cleveland Browns until he's 47. Lead him to 3 Super Bowls. Just you watch. He'll have 4 rings total.
I'd put an end to that before that happens. Trust me.
Jeez. All right.
So we are nearing a month into the spring season. And, Brendan, we're going to start with you because you've been kind of quiet today. Any surprises or performances that have caught your eye in the early spring here?
It's maybe somewhat biased, but my sister plays for the Butler Girls Lacrosse team, and I've covered them the past few years, and they look a lot different this year, where they have multiple girls scoring. I talked to one of them after the game the other night. But it's not just one girl scoring for them anymore. They have Taryn Holowski, plays for the German national team. But there's younger girls that are coming up, and I've seen through their programs, like they play an off-season league at the Bubble in North Park. So it's paying off for them. They're scoring goals, and it seems they have a chance to really compete this year. They were on a 5-game win streak whenever I covered that game. I haven't looked since. I haven't really talked to my sister about it either, but it's cool to see, especially being my sister's team. It's the last athletic endeavor she has in high school. They're doing pretty well.
Golden Tornado lacrosse, and I take it you're going to be talking about Golden Tornado baseball.
Yep. Now this could age very well or very poorly in the course of the next 2 hours because Butler baseball is playing as we speak. But they started 6-0. Obviously, being new to the area, I don't know all of the histories of all these teams or just how talented they all are just yet. But any team that starts 6-0 and starts 3-0 in their section, and especially with the way Whitbeal's set up where you play a 2 or 3 game series at a time against your section opponents, that's an impressive start to me. They've won almost every game by a big margin except for their last 2, which were one-run wins, 8-7 and 4-3 over North Allegheny or over North Hills. I think it was North Hills. They're playing North Allegheny right now tonight, and then tomorrow on Tuesday, if weather cooperates, which seems doubtful.
And Thursday.
And then Thursday will be the rubber match or close out of that series, depending on how it goes. But just a good start for them. I mean, you don't see baseball. It's really tough in baseball because fluky things happen all the time. It's really tough to see a baseball team be undefeated at any stretch, and right now they're 6-0.
I kept tabs as much as I could with all those movies I watched. You know, Gene Hackman was calling my name with Crimson Tide and Hoosiers, but I did spend a little bit of time during the week trying to keep track of what went on in the newspaper with as far as high school sports.
Always working.
I walked in last night and he was in the office. That's how devoted he is.
Looking at my eyes here.
Yes. So I got 2 pitchers to talk about real quick. Knock Zane Pasek. I'm sure you saw last week that he threw a no-hitter for
I talked to him.
The Knights in a baseball win over Greensburg-Salem. How would you like to go to the plate to face this kid? We know from basketball the kid's 7 foot tall, and I'm sure he's got good stuff. Baseball is actually his primary sport. Basketball is kind of the thing.
Baseball his primary?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Baseball is his primary sport. He does basketball as a, kind of a side thing to just stay in shape for baseball. But baseball is definitely his top sport. First career no-hitter at the varsity level. The roundup I read said that he had actually thrown 2 other ones early in his career before getting to the varsity team. Travel ball. Zane Pasek, I wouldn't want to face the kid. I mean, he could be throwing change-ups the whole time. I don't want to face him.
We just need him to grow a mustache. He can be Randy Johnson, Butler County.
There you go. Wow. Lexi Hames, the senior pitcher at Seneca Valley. Of course, she's committed to play at Clemson. In 2 wins this past week against Norwin and North Allegheny, she had a combined 34 strikeouts and gave up 5 combined hits in 2 games.
That's absurd.
She's just doing Lexi Hames things. The thing I do want to point out is, and I'm sure you would remember this because you covered the game 2 years ago, in 6A, as far as the state playoffs are concerned, the Whitfield only sends the champion. 2 years ago, that great team that Seneca Valley had, Lexi Hames was great as a sophomore, put up monster numbers, both at the plate and in the circle. They lost to Hempfield in the Whitfield championship game. So here was a team that finished the year, I think, with 2 losses, and they didn't go to the state playoffs because they only take the top team from Whitfield to the state playoffs. So, and that's the situation again this year. Seneca Valley knows they have to win the Whitfield championship to make the state playoffs. So Lexi Hames knows that there's no margin for error. We just got done with basketball where there's some classes where the Whitfield sends 6-7 teams. Whitfield softball class 6A, you have to be the best of the best. You have to win the title to go. And the thought, again, there's a long way for this to play out. We're talking late May here. But the thought of Lexi Hames ending her career, not getting a chance to play for a state title, it could happen again because there are some other good teams in the Whitfield in 6A. But, 2 years ago, she didn't even get to play in the state playoffs. And that team, I think that team ended the year with 2 losses.
3 years ago, she got to play for a state title.
Well, she in the state playoff. Yeah, that's right. And then last year they made the state playoffs and they lost to some team from Philadelphia. I can't remember.
Like the quarterfinals, right?
Yeah, it was out in Chambersburg at that diamond-shaped.
Well, I'm very familiar with that place. I got a pretty terrible sunburn that day.
I wanted to look this up. I'm not even going to quiz you guys on this because you won't know. The tallest college player ever believed to play went to D2 Barry University in the early 2010s. His name was Frank Szpanek. SZCZ. So very, very Eastern European. He was a 7'2", 270-pound pitcher.
7'2"?
7'2".
Yeah, I don't want to face. I mean, Randy Johnson. He was tall and lanky.
Killed a pigeon.
But Zane Pasek, he's not only tall, but he's got some. He's got a body around him. He's not like a olive oil type Randy Johnson. Randy Johnson's a Hall of Fame pitcher. I'm not trying to downplay him, but Zane Pasek is not a kid I would want to face in the batter's box. That's for sure.
A lot of Zane Pasek love today. Or fear. I don't know which.
Guys, I'm back. You don't have to worry about me leaving for another 2 months.
Jake leaves. He's leaving.
We missed you, Derek.
Will you be here next Monday?
I will not be here next Monday. But it was a good show.
We encourage you to subscribe to the Butler Eagle YouTube channel, Apple or Spotify podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Alter Eagle Podcast and at Butler Eagle News. Goodbye.